Well, Christmas isn't for another 62 days, but in the Queen City, we've got a king-size holiday dream going on right now because tomorrow feels like a CLT sports holiday. We got a new NBA season and a playoff game, and the gifts are coming early and often right here on your favorite Carolina sports show. Welcome in to a star-studded edition of Charlotte Sports Live. Grace Grill alongside Joe Morano tonight, and there is actual hope in the air here in Carolina.
Of course, the Hornets tip off tomorrow. We start the season anew. We're getting in the NBA spirit, going one-on-one with Gordon Hayward. Plus, Charlotte FC is doing something no top-tier Charlotte team has done in years. That's playing a playoff game, Grace. You excited for it?
We're so excited. Whole city's jumping.
First, though, another gift for the Panthers, some offense that they're getting back, correct?
Yeah, the Panthers announcing today that they have activated right guard Austin Corbett off the PUP list. Corbett returned to practice a couple weeks ago after missing all of training camp and the preseason as he recovered from a torn ACL that he suffered in last year's season finale against the Saints. In a subsequent move, however, the Panthers sent linebackers Jeremy Chin and Yetur Gross-Matos to the IR, as well as tight end Giovanni Ricci, making them all unavailable for at least the next 4 weeks. Now, getting Corbett back is a huge boost. Here's what he said a couple weeks back upon returning to practice about this O-line and what he's seen so far from them this season.
Yeah, I think it's just trusting themselves. They go, we're in meetings, we're not having missed assignments, we're not making these mental errors. It's they're just thinking too much. You go out there and you just play, and that's what these guys are capable of, and full confidence in that it's going to start today with just getting out there and just having good energy every single day, and not worrying about things in the past. Just because once it's gone, there's nothing you can do about it. You learn from it, move on, and just enjoy the moment because this business really does suck at times, and you don't know when it's gonna go. So just enjoy the moment, enjoy the rep, and go from there.
Obviously, this is a huge boost for the O-line, just having that veteran presence in there, but also not just his physical presence and what he brings to this O-line, but also just his fresh mentality coming into this. He's kind of that steady voice, and it seemed like he was even just in the locker room, not even being out there on the field.
Yeah, and he's got a young backfield that he's going to have to help out. Bryce Young has been sacked more than enough already. I mean, one is too many times for most quarterbacks there. But also think about the running back situation here. Miles Sanders still a little hobbled. Chuba Hubbard, though, is a guy that's able to really move the line whenever he goes. So I think Frank Reich has the right idea about talking about how this may be a little bit of a committee approach when Sanders gets a little more healthy. And Corbett is just going to help that, though. It's more offensive line help, and I'm ready to see this offense. More bad news for the defense, though, right?
Oh, my gosh, yeah, seeing those guys go. And what's interesting about this move, too, is that there's been so much talk. We got that trade deadline coming up, and there's been so much talk about, are the Panthers going to make a move? One of those guys rumored that the Panthers could be sending out of Carolina, Jeremy Chin. But how does that impact him if they do make a move if he is on the IR?
Trade deadline you're talking about, too. It's a week away. So we'll see if any moves are being made or anything else with that. I don't know if Scott Fitter's going to usually play some games with some trades there. We'll see what happens.
I kind of get the sense they're going to stay put, but we shall see. Well, the bye week is over, but the Panthers are back, and BBKL is back to previewing games. We'll be getting you ready for this matchup between the two top picks of this year's draft, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young going at it. The Texans come to the bank to try and ruin Thomas Brown's play-calling debut. So we've got Black and Blue Kickoff Live, 10 a.m., and then kickoff between Houston and Carolina at 1. All right, moving to the NBA, the league tipped off tonight with a slate of games, but the Hornets will take center stage tomorrow in its first game of the season when they host the Atlanta Hawks. And it's already been a roller coaster of a preseason for the Hive. The Miles Bridges saga, you had losing Frank Ntilikina, there we go, to injury, but still there is a lot of hope with the Hornets. Rookie Brandon Miller, the second overall pick, has a very high ceiling, and don't sleep on another rookie, Nick Smith, who proved he can score it during Summer League. The Hornets are also still very high on JT Thor. And did we mention LaMelo Ball? He's an all-star, so that definitely builds to the excitement for the Hornets. All of that to say that the Hornets have some very good pieces that head coach Steve Clifford is excited about, and it sounded like they had a good final practice today, too, ahead of Game 1.
I know I keep saying the same thing, but we're getting really good internal leadership from the older guys, the veteran guys. Good energy today. I feel like we're pretty organized. I mean, these first couple games are always a little bit of a crapshoot, but guys have worked hard. They've had good attitude, and we've made good progress.
And how about another year with the high for Ish Smith, the veteran guard coming back to Charlotte on a one-year deal. Ish started the season with the Hornets 2 years ago before getting traded to Washington. He won an NBA championship last year with the Denver Nuggets. And get this, Ish is a local guy from Central Cabarrus High School, played college ball at Wake Forest, and he fills a backcourt need with Frank
Ntilikina.
There we go, out for a while.
And here are the storylines we're watching the most going into tomorrow, all right? First off, the youth movement going on with Charlotte. We've got LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams, and of course, second overall pick Brandon Miller. That's a lot of young talent there. How much of an impact can they make with guys like Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward, some of the more grizzled veterans? Second, we need to look for how the Hornets utilize Miles Bridges, if at all. That's important to note. He's out for the first 10 games of the season, serving his suspension that was handed down last year. He also sat out all of last year, so we need to see how he blends back in. It'll be interesting to see, considering how dominant he was back in 2021 and 2020. The new owners is also what we're looking for. How much are they going to pour into this team? What are we going to notice that's different there? What will the players notice that's different? We're not used to ownership spending too much money on talent. We'll see if that changes. Grace, of the storylines, take your pick. What would you like to discuss a little further here?
I'm really excited about the young guys that the Hornets are bringing in. And here's the other thing too, because we talk about how the NBA has gone to, the three ball. Steph Curry changed that when he came into the league, and you're seeing the game go a lot towards the perimeter. But at some point, when teams start figuring out how to defend that well, and you bring in guys that can play it and defend it well, eventually everything starts to go back to. And I like that the Hornets are somewhat built for that potential down the road when it does go back into more an inside-outside game, because you got Mark Williams down there. Hopefully you get Miles Bridges back in there, and I just think that will add to their overall success playing outside and inside as well.
I agree there. And now if you're just talking about on-court presence there, Miles Bridges is a force, and Brandon Miller was drafted second overall. He's expected to be as well. So I think here you also spent the summer locking down LaMelo Ball for the next several years. That's big. So let's keep LaMelo Ball happy, surround him with the talent that he needs. He's a great point guard. He's all-star worthy. We've seen it before. He makes everyone better around him. So
happy and healthy.
Happy
and healthy is what we want from the Hornets this year.
That's exactly what we need. And we did sit down, or I got to sit down with one of the key components of that offense, Gordon Hayward. He's a keystone for this squad. He's going into his fourth year in Charlotte and has turned into a mentor for the players there. Earlier today, I went one-on-one with him, and he taught us all things we need to know about his squad going into a new NBA season.
I did want to start off by asking you, you're 14 in the league. How does your mindset or your perspective change on opening night now versus 14 years ago or 13 years ago?
Man, I think, one of the only differences is I have a family now, so it's, my kids are super excited about the game tomorrow, and I think as a player, you still have that same, energy, that same kind of feeling in your stomach of it's the first game and excited, a little antsy about it, but looking forward to it.
The injury bug hit you and the team pretty bad last year. How do you reset in the offseason, and how hard is that to do?
Yeah, injuries are a part of the game. It's the worst part of the game, but they happen to, if you play the game long enough, they usually happen to everybody and to every team, and some of it's just luck. I think thankfully we were able to have a long off season, so I was able to train the way I wanted to, had a healthy off season, and so I think, right now as a team, I think we're feeling pretty good. Hopefully it stays that way.
How have you changed your approach as a player, given these injuries? Are you a little more cautious? You're also getting up, you're 14 years in too.
I wouldn't say cautious at all. I think certainly training habits have to change a little bit. You get smarter of how you want to train. And the same thing applies on the court. Whenever I'm out there, I'm playing just as hard as I always have, and I will continue to do that. But certainly recovery-wise, after the game, there's a lot more work to be done. Before I would just go home and go to sleep. Now it's sauna and cold tub and stretching and all this other extra stuff that you got to do. But I think that's part of it.
You've also got more experience than a lot of guys on this roster. Do you find yourself becoming more of a teacher as you continue to play and continue to be part of this organization?
Definitely. I think that's kind of how the cycle of the game goes. When I first came in the league, I had some great veterans that taught me how to be a professional and taught me how to flip the switch on each and every night. And, I find myself doing and saying similar things to what they did. And so I think it's part of my job being here with such a young team is to try to mentor and help these young guys learn how to be a professional.
How was Coach Clifford's approach different in preseason preparation compared to other coaches that you've worked with before?
I mean, everybody has kind of their unique flair of what they like to do. We've been playing a lot in practice, and I think he wants us to just get used to playing with each other and being on the court together, building some of that chemistry.
And how well is this team unifying? Because there's a lot of the pieces here that are from the team a couple years ago that made this play-in tournament.
Yeah.
How's that helped out over the years?
Well, this is my 4th year here, Melo's 4th year, and so there's probably 3 or 4 other guys that we've played with that, this is our 4th year together, and, that stuff you can't teach. And so having that experience on the court, I know we've had, injuries and we haven't been able to play as much as we wanted to together, but having that just experience, knowing where guys are going to be at, you want to how to make your teammates better, and knowing what they do best is how you do that. So hopefully we can continue to build that.
All right, so there's a lot of new happening always this time of year. New season, new jerseys, new court designs. What's your take on this? What's the NBA players' take on the in-season tournament that's starting?
I think it's a cool event. You see other sports around the world that do these different type of cups and tournaments in the middle of seasons. So I think it was only inevitable that it was eventually going to come to the NBA. I think it's cool that it doesn't really change as far as the games in the group stages are regular season games, so it's not like it's extra travel or anything. Ultimately, getting a chance to go to Vegas would be fun and cool to play there, but other than that, it's just going to be like any other night.
All right, so night before tip, do you sleep all right tonight? Are you going to be ready to roll tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be ready to roll. Certainly, I'll be up thinking about it a little more than normal, but like you said, this is my 14th year, so I know how to figure it out.
All right, well, we're looking forward to tomorrow night. We're also looking forward to the Crown as they play in their first playoff game in franchise history tomorrow night. But they've got a lot of work to do if they want to be crowned kings of Major League Soccer. We'll hear from Charlotte FC manager Christian Lattanzio on the wild card match coming up.
And it doesn't get much better than postseason baseball, but if it could, what would it look like, Grace? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, we're asking, and we're going to try to answer that question a little bit later on in Quick Six. But keep it here. You're watching Charlotte Sports Live. We'll be right back.
The ACC tip-off is in Uptown the next 2 days. Ladies first, as the women got on the podium today to preview the upcoming season. Notre Dame are your defending champs, but remember, it was Virginia Tech that made a Final Four run last season. Both of those squads are in the top 10 to start this year, but these schools know that there are no easy outs in this conference.
This is a league where stars come because stars want to play stars. And so the players in this league are going to challenge these guys and get them better night after night. And then the coaches are both competitive and prepared. So you, as a coach, you're being sharpened as well.
Everything's better when you win. The food, the travel, everything. So just getting where we realize that that's our priority. And it's tougher nowadays, you got the portal, the NIL, all these things pulling at you from an individual standpoint. And now you got to, try to focus on what's important.
The ACC men's teams get their crack at the podium and discuss the preseason tomorrow. All right, the last time a professional team from the Queen City made it to the playoffs, you got to go all the way back to 2017, Grace. The last time Bank of America hosted a playoff game of any kind was 2016 when the Panthers won the NFC title game.
Yeah, well, at least one part of that equation is changing. Charlotte FC is in the MLS Cup playoffs, and tomorrow marks a historic day in our city's sports history. Tomorrow's single elimination wildcard game against New York Red Bulls will be no easy task. This is the 14th straight playoff appearance for New York, one that is anchored by a strong defense led by Carlos Coronel. And here's a stat that helps the Crown, though. Red Bulls only have 36 goals this season, the least of any Eastern playoff team. That'll go against Charlotte's 4-game unbeaten streak. And if there's one word to describe Charlotte's mindset going into tomorrow's match, it's aggressive.
I think that this group of players can do that. We know that it's going to be difficult, and that's already been the playoff for me. I saw a group today that is motivated, that he lives well together, that they are ready to give a fight, and we are ready to give our best for our supporters, for the club, for everybody that is involved with us.
Okay, here's tomorrow's tale of the tape. During the regular season, New York had one more win than Charlotte, but again, that goal differential. Yeah, Red Bulls didn't score that much, but they only had 39 goals conceded compared to the 52 Charlotte gave up. Make New York cough up the ball and look at the passing accuracy rate. New York dead last in the league at 72% compared to Charlotte's 81. When Charlotte can shoot, they score. Tied for 7th in the league overall on shot conversions with 17%. Again, Red Bulls near the basement at 11 in 26th place. So I believe Red Bull, boasting the 5th best defense. But one thing that I'm hung up on from what Christian Kalina said after the match against Inter Miami on Saturday was that he likes the way that they operate in tournament play. And he referenced their Leagues Cup run of how they were just so steady through that. And it's kind of that same mindset and how getting a win that late helped them. So I'm going off that.
And also, just remember, going into the month of October, this was their own little tournament just to get into this because they needed to. They couldn't afford a loss at all. And what happened? 3 wins, 1 draw, and now in the playoffs. Not too bad at all for Charlotte FC. So momentum certainly on their side. I'm liking the chances tomorrow.
And playoffs in Charlotte. It's just fun to say, so we're just going to keep saying it over again. Well, the Hornets season starts tomorrow night, and most of us here at Charlotte Sports Live are excited and optimistic. But where does this team excel, and where may they be lacking? We'll discuss that coming up next in Quick Six.
You know the drill. Consistently the best 2 minutes in Charlotte sports of the night. It's Quick Six, all right? News anchor Brian Blakely, you're here with us. You ready to roll?
Let's do it, brother.
Let's put 2 minutes on the clock and lead off with you. How many deals does Scott Fitterer pull off before the NFL trade deadline, which is on Halloween?
I'm going to say 2. One kind of a big one, and then another little small one. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of draft picks for guys like Terrace Marshall or things like that, but those will add up. Maybe you could use those, package those into something later. We'll see.
Team does need some draft capital. Grace, what's the Hornets' biggest strength going into this NBA season?
You know, I'm going to say the steadiness. Like, they kind of know what they have right now. There wasn't some big incident in the offseason that they had to, mentally prepare for. They know their group. They've been in there working, and there's an optimism about this team right now.
Brian, what's the Hornets' biggest weakness going into the NBA season?
You know, I got to say confidence that they can win, confidence that they can finish games, and confidence to give to the fans right now. They're going to go out there and win and have a winning record and get into the playoffs this year.
I agree there. Grace, I'm checking scores right now for you at the moment, but who's winning the World Series, which starts this Friday right here on Fox Charlotte?
Well, by the score update I just checked, it will not be the Phillies, unfortunately, and I'm going to go with Rangers. I mean, with the gauntlet that they had to go through to get here, Orioles, Astros, I think if the Phillies aren't going to make it, I think the Rangers are going to win it.
The Rangers are on the type of fire that is what we think Charlotte FC should be on. Catch that sort of heater to be able to advance in those MLS playoffs. All right, Brian, if you had to pick the teams for this year's Mayo Bowl right now, I need your bowl projection. Who's playing between the ACC and Big Ten?
Big Ten? ACC? Is it that this year? I think it's...
It flips with the SEC, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to go Duke for sure. I like them being in this bowl. And just because my co-anchor, Annie, at 4 o'clock, she is an Iowa girl. I'm going to say Iowa.
Oh, man, what a game. How many points going to get scored in that one? All right, Grace, give us your best take on how to make the MLB postseason better.
Oh, the only thing I could suggest is, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, but they're never going to go back to the original plan. But remember, everyone was mad about the Braves because they had to wait for five days, and then they claimed, they cooled off against the Phillies because they had so much time off. But if you had that one wild card playing game, that changes things. So I don't know.
Shorten that wild card round, maybe. All right. Diamondbacks just beat the Phillies and just wrapped it up. They're headed to the World Series. The Denver Nuggets won the NBA title last year. You don't need a QC crown when you have a championship ring of 16 carats of diamonds and rubies and sapphires. Good for Denver. We'll have QC crowns, though, up next. Don't go anywhere.